Hey, listen up. We got another episode of Wise Kracks, featuring the crack man himself, Bill Krackomberger, and our co-host, John Orlando, straight from Las Vegas. Wise Kracks is your ticket inside the world of sports betting, with tips, picks, special guests, and more. Only on WSN.com.
Hey, everybody. I am not in studio. Neither is Bill Krackomberger, but it's all my fault. I was a little sick. I'm a little under the weather today, Bill. I didn't want to spread whatever I have.
Yeah, no, and I'm naturally a germphobe, so it's quite okay.
Yeah, I know better than to come into that studio with a little cough. Last week was like the beginning of it. I don't know if you heard. Like last week,
really?
Even, I guess was day one,
wow.
But I didn't realize it during the show. I just thought maybe I couldn't clear my throat. But yeah,
okay.
But I'm feeling all right, but a little bit of a cough.
Good.
But anyway, we got a fun show today. We got a local guest. He's a comedian and an actor, and he also worked in the casino industry as a dealer. And he was in some really cool movies like The Hangover and The Gambler. And Keith Lyle will be joining us a little later in the show, thanks to you.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, before we get to that, let's talk a little sports. NBA playoffs in full swing. It's been a lot of blowouts. This
people aren't happy with the results of a lot of fans aren't happy, I guess. But, even maybe sports bettors, it just goes to show you how hard it is to beat the NBA. Here you have teams that are blowing each other out. One team wins by 40. They go to the other court, and the other team wins by 25. I mean, it's not really fun to watch. It's probably maybe even the most boring set of playoffs in NBA history. But it goes to show you, like I said, I don't bet NBA sides. They're like NFL sides. They're so hard to beat, and they're so unpredictable. But we have literally had some even prop bets. I bet a Jimmy Butler bet the other day. I bet it was over points, rebounds, and assists over, I think it was 38.5. And he had like 30 by the end of the third quarter, and they rested him the entire fourth quarter because it was a blowout. So it's it's just crazy. And then these teams are just shooting. It's such an individual sport. Now, these teams are just putting up threes back and forth, and either they seem to be, the flow of the game seems to be like they're making every three or they're missing every three. So it's been an unusual season. A lot of injuries, people going out during the middle of the game. It's just it's really hard to predict this NBA stuff. So over to the UFC, John. There you go.
Yes.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I was there last week. Actually, a great card last week, and the main event was Holly Holm fought Vieira. This ended up being a controversial decision that didn't go in Holm's favor, which kind of surprised me because I was there at the fight and I thought she got her butt kicked, to be honest. I think it was a 5-round fight. So it was the main event's always 5 rounds. And round 5, I thought Holly turned it up and she did great. She had an incredible round 5, but I had it 4 rounds to 1 Vieira. But it ended up being a split decision. And I guess I saw 78% of the fans scored it in Holly's favor. I don't know what they were watching. Maybe I'm one of these terrible judges that everyone's mad about.
No, it's a natural reaction to root for the favorite. Someone like her, she was a 2.5 to 1 favorite, anywhere from 220 to 250 I've seen. So it's a natural reaction because the people are all rooting for her and they're actually betting her. So of course they're going to say that, and that's the reason why the sports books make all the money, because the dogs do get the money, the unknowns do get the money. Not saying that her opponent was unknown, but that's the reason why they get the money. The fans love betting on these big favorites. So
let me ask you this, Bill. It does bring up the question of the way they score these fights is each round by round, right, with a 10-point must, just like boxing. In this case, like where you have where Holly gets beat, let's say I'm right and that she lost the first 4 rounds, but round 5 she absolutely did put it on Vieira. You could make a case like the whole body of work, if you didn't just judge it round by round and you were just to judge now the whole body of work, I could see why you would say Holly won the fight. Do we need to change the way we judge these fights?
I know over in boxing, some of the people are throwing this around too as what they actually want, which would be great, is to let the fans at home and the corner know where they stand going into that round. So
great idea.
Maybe you'll have 10-9, 10-9, 10. You add them all up and say, hey, we can't win, even if we win the round, even if we have literally, if we get a 10-8 round, we still can't win. So you have to knock them out. Get out there and just throw it all out there. It's going to be a kind of a thing where you leave yourself open because you're so more aggressive, but that's the only way you can win. I love that. I hope it does change.
I love that too.
Yeah,
that would have been really helpful a couple weeks ago in a title fight with Rose Namajunas. Her corner was telling her in round 5, you're up, you're winning. Just don't get knocked out, don't get submitted. And she ended up losing a decision because her corner told her the wrong thing. And this would have been really helpful. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, well, especially over in boxing, these I don't want to say corrupt, it's too strong of a word, but incompetent, I'll say. We have a lot of incompetent judges that are so bad, they would be exposed real fast publicly. They would be exposed because some of these fights don't even get to the finish, so you never know what the judges' scorecards are unless you look into it. But the public at home would see what they score each round, and there would automatically be a controversial fight going on at all times because some people at home that score the fight wouldn't be judging it that way. So that's an interesting aspect, though.
Yeah.
Hopefully something gets changed.
Now, let me ask you this. You mentioned boxing. They just announced yesterday Canelo versus Triple G3 is going to happen. And you talk about controversy. I thought Canelo lost both of those fights to Triple G. And here we are. We're going to see it again for the third time. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think this would be Canelo. I'm going to look right now. I think this would be let me see. It's officially booked for September. I think this is the 4th fight, though. Is
it the 4th? You might be right.
Oh, no. It does say trilogy. You're right. You're right. This is
the first one was a draw, right?
I could have swore I even went to these fights. Maybe I'm nuts. Anyway, I'm sure the fans
ended in a draw.
Right.
First one was a draw. Second one, Canelo won by decision, but a lot of people feel, myself included, that Triple G won that one also.
Yeah, I thought myself that people get upset though. I posted something about this Canelo versus Triple G. I posted something on Twitter. I remember people were saying no, that people look at fights differently. So it's interesting how do. But I thought definitely Triple G beat him that first fight for sure. Interesting. Well, it should be fun. Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah. Well, summer is here, and the action for Crack Wins is absolutely heating up between the NBA Finals and Major League Baseball now heading into the summer. WNBA season started hot on both sides and totals for you. How's everything been going? It seems like you've been killing it again.
Well, not killing it, but definitely, we have golf, we have NASCAR, we have, of course, I do, get involved with the NBA props and some totals once in a while. So, yeah, there's still a lot of action with Crack Wins. Summer baseball, summer league, NBA will be coming here just around the corner. I know it doesn't seem like it because the playoffs are here, but yeah, we have a lot of stuff going on and keep on chugging along, man. We like I said, we had an unbelievable record 8 months in a row, giving out picks, winning picks, and then of course things happen. You have losing months, but if you can win 8 out of 9 months, you're going to make money. 8 out of 10 months, you're going to make some money. So
you mentioned NBA Summer League. Is that something that there's good opportunity there?
Yes. It's because I'll tell you why. You have to really follow close to see who's playing, how much time they get, what's the story? Are they playing for real? Are they who's there's some really good information out there about lineups and stuff. So we'll have that covered for sure.
You have a very guilty smile right there, Crack.
I don't want to say inside. I don't want to say inside information because that's overblown, that kind of term. But there is some really good information that's going to be out there. And when I give out a play, automatically it moves. And to get the best of the number, the CLV, closing line value, there's nothing else that feels that good. There's not many services, maybe one other one out of the thousands of them that I could think of that has closing line value. And it's such a good feeling when you're on the best, the best side of something, when, you're literally laying 4 in a game and it closes 6. You're going over, 199.5 and it closes 201.5. It's a great feeling to be on that side. I've been doing that for 25 plus years, and it's good that Crack Wins members and subscribers can also do that.
Yeah, so head on over to crackwins.com or just download the app on Apple or Google Play and be one of the members that receives all the insider information, all the betting tips. Now's the time to do it. Build your bankroll and get in the winner's circle. And make sure you head on over to WSN.com as Bill does daily, including probably right now.
Yeah, I'm on the site right now. The latest predictions, odds, and news. It's such an informative site. I just don't know anyone else that has an informative site like this. New articles literally every day. They have a thing on here, Call of Duty League picks, betting predictions. These are things you can actually bet on now, so it's amazing. There's stuff on the different, all different things like golf predictions, golf articles, NBA, of course. These things on like, it's amazing how they get articles on like the ESL Challenge North America betting pick. These are different leagues that are more probably popular overseas and stuff. Even the Spain versus Portugal League of Nations picks and predictions. The U.S. sports betting news I love. I like to be kept up on what's going on around the country. And, you know, Minnesota just failed to pass a sports betting bill. It's hard to believe. Maybe so now, you know, the states around them have it. So I don't understand that. But there's articles on that. Maryland, you know, Michigan here. Well, not Michigan. Michigan's illegal already. So this is Massachusetts. Sorry. And then also the sports books that are opening up in Kansas, the DraftKings and the different places. I also like of course, the bonuses. You can go to the bonus section of the site and literally click on and get bonuses wherever you are around the country. You click on your jurisdiction or where you're going to be. People don't realize that sometimes. You don't have to live in a state that has legal gambling, legal sports betting. You could just go to a legal state that has legal sports betting, that jurisdiction. If you're going to be there for the weekend, the week or whatever, you sign up for a couple of the apps, you know, give your ID. They don't care as long as you're in that jurisdiction when you're placing the bets. And then when you're getting ready to leave, you cash out. So great bonuses. WSN.com, you could see they have negotiated with some of the biggest sports books in the world for the best bonuses online. So make sure you guys check that out.
Okay, Crack, our guest today is our kind of guy. He was a Las Vegas dealer before becoming an actor and a comedian. He played a dealer in The Hangover and The Gambler, two movies that I love. He performs regularly here in Vegas at Jokesters and many other spots. Please welcome Keith Lyle, the Wise Kracks.
Hey, Keith.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Good to be here.
Good. Thanks for joining us today. You know, I'm not really a comedy guy as far as I'm very tough on comedy movies, but The Hangover is probably my favorite comedy of all time. I put it right there with like Caddyshack or, you know, like it's that good. So one of my favorite movies. That had to be fun. That had to be real fun doing that, I would think, right?
It was a special movie for sure. And, you know, it was my first ever thing that I did that was a movie, TV, anything. At the time I was just doing like improv, like classes at Second City here in Vegas. And I auditioned and I got the gig because at the time I was a dealer. You know, the director asked me, if you weren't here taking this meeting today, what would you be doing? And I said, I'd be over at the Venetian in Pit 8 and BJ 49 dealing $10 blackjack. And he loved that, you know, and that was, he said, what happens if someone's counting cards? I said, you just got to turn your head and get the, you know, floor person's attention. And he's like, oh, this is our guy. We shoot right off his eye line or whatever. And I said, you could probably use the eye in the sky. And he's like, perfect. And they use that one shot with the eye in the sky, you know, for a split second. And he's like, you know, he said, this is our guy. We don't need to interview anyone else. And I was like, great, I got a movie part. I didn't know what it meant. It didn't mean anything to me. I had, you know, three pages of a scene. And then we start filming at the Riviera in the casinos live, you know, so there's people yelling. There's one guy yelling 19 because he's playing roulette. You know, we haven't cut the scenes and everything. It was crazy. But everyone was so nice. Like Bradley Cooper was sweet. It was just a great experience.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. You don't want to hear guys there.
No, everyone.
I don't think I even knew any of those guys before that movie. Did you, John? I don't think I knew any of those guys. Bradley Cooper, was that like his first major part? I didn't know him before then.
I'm trying to think of the order. Was that before Silver? That was before Silver Lining.
Oh yeah,
yeah, way before that. Yeah, maybe that was my first intro to Bradley Cooper.
Yeah,
he had been in like Wedding Crashers, and I think he was.
He had a small part in Wedding Crashers. That's right.
Oh wow.
He had done like I think Liar Liar because he talked about. I think it was Liar Liar. He did a movie with Jim Carrey, and I asked him what that was like, and he's like, it's hard to keep up with them. Ed Helms was on The Office. And I was a fan of The Office, so we did a lot of talking there. Heather Graham. It was funny because Heather Graham and Ed Helms were talking a lot about Steve Martin because Heather's friends with Steve from movies that she's done with him, and it's Ed Helms, idol because they both play the banjo. So there was a lot of that talk.
Cool.
I was able to get when we had a lunch break, sit with Zach Galifianakis and talk with him about stand-up comedy because that's really what I wanted to do was stand-up comedy. When I was a kid, I'd grown up in the suburbs of Chicago. We'd get our fake IDs, drive into the city with my friends, and they would go to like bars, and I would go to the comedy clubs. This was the comedy boom in the late '80s, and I would use my fake ID, watch some comedy, and then meet them up later, and hit on chicks and get turned down. And that's how we spent our weekends growing up in Chicago, suburbs of Chicago. And I never thought I could do stand-up comedy because they were all so good. And my mom was always like, they have writers. You don't have a writer. You're not funny. So it wasn't until I was a dealer and I would just let it go on the craps or blackjack table, just busting chops and making fun of everybody. And they're like, you're funnier than the comedian we saw here last night. You may want to think about doing this professionally. People would run through their whole bankroll for the weekend in like one shift because they were having so much fun at the table. So that's when I made the transition. And, casinos aren't real happy with comedy. They don't like when you joke around.
Wow. When did you start? How did you get your start? Did you did you break in? I love you just said busting chops. No one knows, people don't even know what that, unless you're from a major city like Chicago, New York, right. Philly. Anyway, where did you start? Did you start in, you were dealing, you came out from Chicago to Las Vegas to deal? Is that how?
I came out in 1993. I moved from Chicago to Las Vegas. I wanted to go to UNLV. At the time, UNLV was the most inexpensive school for in-state tuition, and I just wanted to graduate college. That was my goal. No one said I could do it. So I came out here, and I futzed around for a little while until I found my way into dealing school. And I was going to just deal blackjack and roulette or whatever. And the guy at the dealer school goes, no, you're a man. You need to deal craps. So I started dealing craps. I started on a 25-cent crap game at the El Cortez.
Oh, God.
In 1993.
Wow. With the coins, right? They had coins back then?
They had yellow chips that were equivalent to 25 cents. You couldn't see. They were so old that you couldn't see anything on it. It was just yellow, and it was just dirty with like boogers and stuff. It was disgusting.
Oh, yeah. They're terrible. And the dollar was the dollars, real dollars, or they were dollar chips?
They were blue. They were blue dollars, but we did use.
They were dirty.
Yeah, they were extreme. It was disgusting. You'd see fights over 25-cent field bets, because that's a self-service bet. The dealers aren't supposed to watch those. So you'd see guys fighting, and then if there were two fleas on the table I didn't like, I'd get them to beef with each other and see if I can get them to leave.
Oh, great!
We saw a guy. There was a guy had a heart attack on the crap game. 25. They called it the bird game because in the back of a quarter is a bird. So the slang is bird game. So we saw a guy have a heart attack, and I'm like, no action on the dead guy, So they pull him off the table, and the pit boss says, "Get a roll." So the dice are still moving. People are
still going. People stepping over top of them. Yeah.
8 on his side. They're reviving him. They get him revived. They get him on a stretcher. He pulls off the mask and he says to the pit boss, Tony Estrada, he says, "Hey, Tony, where's my $6.50 I had on the table?"
Wow.
The pit boss, without losing a beat, says, "Hey, the next roll was 7 out. You didn't call your bets off. We locked it up."
Right. I mean, it's funny. I know Tony. I know who Tony is. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. It's absolutely what happened. If you know Tony, that's absolutely what happened. And It was like my third week there, and I was like, for $6.50, that guy's dying. And it was like, don't worry about it. He'll come back with more money.
Only at the El Cortez, the bucket of blood down there. Yeah.
I have so many stories about that dump. Oh my God.
Wow.
No,
so then you went on to the Venetian,
guy. What a line.
Yeah, you went to the Venetian. Venetian's a big money, John. It's a big money job to deal with the Venetian. Very hard to get in to a place like that. So
it was when I got there, and then there was a little bit of a scandal where it seems as if someone was selling jobs to the underqualified, which I guess happens at every casino. But it was pretty rampant there for a while, and then the money went down for a long time, and I understand that now it's back up. So money's back up all over town, from what I understand. People have been very generous.
Oh man, it's amazing how much people. I know some people at the Wynn and stuff. I know what these people are making. Wow.
Yes, they're doing
dealing
well,
jobs, making like $400 a day. I mean, it's just really.
And it used to be about half that, and it really went down. I'm telling you, when I left like four years ago, we were making about $75,000 at one time at the Venetian, which is one of the top tier jobs because the benefits there were fantastic. Sheldon Adelson, whether you like his politics or not, was always very good to us. Anytime that we felt slighted as employees, we knew that he didn't know what was going on. Because in the beginning, he would sit there and he'd sit in the employee dining room and ask us if the food was any good. Like he actually cared. I mean, he's that kind of guy. And then as the company went public and he got more insulated and profits became more important to the people below him, things kind of shifted away from the importance of the employees. But he was always good to work for. Then the money went down quite considerably by a lot. And that upset a lot of people. And at that time, we were starting to get people that couldn't read or write English. So we weren't sure how they were getting jobs. And they were dealing games backwards. They needed translators for things. So that's kind of my last straw is when they went to 000 roulette and 6-5 blackjack, because it didn't only upset me as a dealer, it offended me as a Jewish person. Like, as a Jew, I'm pissed off. You can't do that to people. I mean, you could lube them up, but I mean, you can't just bend them over all the time. Like, come on, it's too much.
It offended me as a Jew.
I'm ethnically offended. That's when I stopped, and unfortunately, I was able to go into stand-up comedy full time. I've been doing it for a while. Been on a few tours overseas at that point. Got hooked up here in town, doing shows here. And my wife has a real estate business that was doing quite well. It still is. So I'm able to put it all together and not have to go into the casino anymore.
Good for you. Good for you. John?
That's awesome. I have a question back from the dealing days because I'm fascinated by just the mind of the gambler. I'm sure there were many times where you're watching someone that's like up a ton of money, blows it all, and then goes deep, down out of his own pocket. Is it hard to watch that as it's unfolding? And like, because it's your job to just deal, but are there ever times like you want to look at him and just go, buddy, like pull the plug?
There were quite a few times. If you like the person gambling, you kind of get a feeling for them. Like if they're tipping and they're nice, you get that feeling for them. If they're stiff, you just like, oh, well, just keep on. There's one guy who was like a doctor or something, and he had like a $50,000, maybe $100,000 line of credit. And he would always get mad when he lost, and he'd get mad and slam the table, which to me is funny because there's nothing you can do, but he just gets so angry. And he had that Indian accent. So he's like, damn it. And he'd just start yelling. And it's like, it was hard not to laugh at him. But then he caught a hand. He caught a roll. And he must have rolled for about an hour and a half, and most of it was by himself, maybe 2 hours. And he was down to his last $5,000, and he built it back up to like 350, 400,000. And like, he finally cashed out. And then he spent the next probably 8 or 9 years trying to recreate that, losing all that money and then some back. I mean, he had no shot. I've seen players like Phil Ivey lose a lot of money, and he gets pissed fast. He's not the easiest person to deal to. I never had a problem with him because he could rant and rave and throw his water bottle or do whatever he's going to do, or it didn't bother me because the dice are inanimate objects. I can't do anything about it. So if he get really out of control, like the stick man would look at him and go, "Hey, Phil, how about $100 hard six?" Because he never bets the hard ways, and he would just get like so incensed that he would realize that we were messing with him, and it would calm him down. But he was always nice to the fans. Anyone came up to him, want an autograph, he always was very nice to everybody, all the fans, but to the dealers. And that's typical of poker players. I think they're so used to being antagonistic with everyone else at a table, like they're all against each other, that sometimes when they come to like blackjack or craps, they feel the same way. But, we're just calling dice and flipping cards. There's nothing we could do. We're glorified monkeys.
Yeah. Well, Keith, in all fairness, it's your fault when we lose, but when we win, we have good luck.
Yes. It's good luck. It's what you're wearing. That was the other thing with superstitions. I used to kind of believe in superstitions, and in sports, I kind of do because I think it calms people down. It gets them in the right mindset if they do a certain thing. So I get that. But on a craps table, if you're going to rub the table 3 times, and then shake the dice twice, and then throw them, it has no bearing on what's going to happen. Nothing, because they're inanimate objects. They just do what they do. You can't control. I mean, it would drive me crazy. I just laugh at it.
Cool. Hey, it was so Phil was a good guy as far as the fans. How about tip wise to you guys?
Well, if he won $2 million, you would get maybe 1,000. And if he won like $20,000, maybe you get 500. And if he lost, he lost. So he wasn't.
Right. As long as he tipped, because you get a lot of abusive guys and a lot of that don't give anything if they win.
That's
very true. And now that I'm not in the business, I will name names.
Hey, let me ask you this: along the tipping, when someone does win, let's say like a $2 million, what tip are you guys like? Not expecting, but hope. Like, what would be a proper tip there? I'd love both of you to answer that.
I know what I think, but go ahead.
Some people would say 10%. Some people, you got to leave something. So 50, 60 grand at least.
Wow.
Maybe 100.
Way off. Holy shit.
What would you say, Bill?
I'm way off.
What would you say, Bill?
I was going to say 1 to 2%. That's standard. But I made, I would think 20 grand would be an acceptable tip for $1 million or, $1 million bucks, I would think.
$1 million bucks, that would be, that'd be all right. That'd be the minimum.
Yeah. But some people give nothing. I've seen it.
Oh,
so
believe me.
I've been around some. Yeah.
I saw a poker player, a guy who likes to donate his winnings. And he won 180,000 playing the don't pass, pissing everyone else off at the table, won 180 grand and left us nothing.
Keith, how about keeping your own tips? Did you do that at the El Cortez back in the day?
No, I missed out on the keep your own thing. My father-in-law, who started in the business in like 1958, got to keep his own, and he did very well for a while until he moved up to pit boss, and then he was casino manager a couple different places. But I missed out on all that. But I worked with, when I started in the early 90s, I worked with a lot of guys who did, and they taught me a lot of the technique, and they were still working into the mid and late 90s because they had tax bills from getting flipped. Toward the late 80s, the IRS had people in the cage when they would cash out. Then they'd have to report, and then the IRS had people in there and caught them for not reporting, and in lieu of going to jail, they had to pay all these crazy fees. So they had to work. There was a while there was cocktail waitresses. I think in 2015 there were still 4 day one cocktail waitresses at Caesars. That why were they still working at Caesars? My only guess was they had back taxes they had to pay. I mean, why would you be running around the floor at 75 years old if you didn't need the money?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I think some of them are still there. I've walked
there's a couple.
Caesars, and I've seen some antiques going around there. It's like, wow. Yeah. No, it's amazing. Unless they're making giant money, which maybe they are. I don't know. But,
it could be, but at some point, that's a lot of hard. Yeah, that's a lot of hard work to walk around like that, not just on them, but on the Spanx and on the bra. I mean, that's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, no, for sure. I talked about the keep your own tips because when you go up to it now, I don't play anymore, but I used to play once in a while, messing around. My friends coming to town, they were like, "You live in Vegas, we're all coming," and they want to play. And it kills me to actually go and even spend a couple $100 unless I'm getting an incentive, a buy-in bonus, a tournament like a blackjack tournament. I'm looking to steal. I'm not looking to gamble. So now when I walk in and when you see a dead crap table and you see this crew that you throw $100 on the table and then these guys, they're like, oh, change 100. Like there's just no incentive for them to be any good. To be honest with you, I think some dealers just suck today. They are just nasty. Burnt out is the word. They're burnt out. They have no choice but to work because that's all they know how to do. I wouldn't give some of them a mop job, though. I wouldn't let them mop the floors of my place. That's how rude some of the dealers can be. It's a tough business, though. I understand, but hey, that's your choice.
Yeah.
Where else can you make $60,000 a year, $80,000 a year without any experience really in life? I mean,
It is the least amount of responsibility and the most amount of money you can make that I've found, because all you have to do is follow the rules of the game. I mean, you are responsible for the money on the table for the most part, but all you got to do is show up. And you don't even, obviously, as your experience shows, you don't even have to be that good. But when you walk up to a dead crap game and there's you open it up, now you're making them work. Right. And there was I hated when people came to my table and said, you look like you need something to do. Cause I'm like,
there you go.
I'm going to go to where you work and supersize my meal because you look like you need something to do. Like, no, just come to the table. It's my job. And go, hey, you look friendly. Why don't we play? Hey, let's have some fun. You don't need an excuse. I'm here. So, but you're doing a disservice because, especially at a crap table, there's 3 people. They're standing there. They're talking. They're killing time. They're making because they make the same amount of money whether they work or don't work, whether they put in the toke box or not. And that's what used to drive me nuts is I'd fill up my toke box and I'd get there the next day and make like, $100. It's like, but I put in like $1,500, $2,000 in my 8-hour shift. And I look at the guy next to me who doesn't talk and he's, making the same as me, standing, and but it's part of the game, and tokes really went down when they started getting more of those carnival games, and they'd open up. This was a big thing before the shutdown. Is they'd open up every table they could because any $20 bill that walked through the place, every casino wants, and that splits the tip pool more, so you're making less money. Since the shutdown for COVID, they're not opening as many tables because they're trying to keep expenses low, trying to get everything back up. So that made the tokes go up. So that's why dealers are making so much money. They kind of cut the spread, as it's called. And, at some point they're going to reopen it. But right now things are going pretty well until the casinos kind of overcharge everybody for everything and they stop coming here and go to like Pachanga instead. I've done shows at Pachanga. I've never seen a busier casino. It's like, it's like New Year's Eve every weekend there. This casino is so busy. It's insanity. And it's like, why are they there? Well, they're getting comped. The gaming's a little different because they don't use dice, but they're getting comped. It's a good experience. They may have to pay for drinks, but the rooms are nice. And, I think we're going to, the casinos better get their stuff together and stop with all the fees and everything. Because what's the incentive to come to Vegas? You could sports bet anywhere. You could play blackjack anywhere. You're getting your action. So, the next best thing to winning is being in action. So if you're getting it somewhere else, you have no need to come here.
Keith, you bring up really valid points about the California casinos, Pachanga. I've been to Verona many times. I just got back from Viejas last week, and I had a really good incentive to go there. And I'll tell you, you can't move in those San Diego, Temecula. You can't move in those casinos. It's so busy. But to be fair, sports betting's not there yet. However, November it's on the ballot. They may get it. They're probably going to get it. It's just a nice trip. You can go downtown San Diego. You go to, you go to Little Italy. You go down to Petco Park. You take a ride to Del Mar. There's so many reasons to go there. Vegas right now, though, doesn't realize that, because I'll tell you, I was just out yesterday and I could not move yesterday in a casino. I can't believe how busy Las Vegas is even midweek right now. Now, granted, I always tell people the best months to come to Vegas, I always say May and September. So it's May, to be fair. That's a busy month. But since the COVID really reopened these casinos are packed. Don't even try to walk through a strip casino on a Friday, Saturday night. Impossible. There's so much foot traffic. They're making so much money. It's more than ever before. Every month, record over record. It's amazing. And not just here. Atlantic City, killing it on the weekends. Can't move. These casinos in California, you mentioned, killing it. I don't know. I know we're in the economy here that's paying over $5 for gas here, 6, 7 other places like California. Doesn't matter. People are spending their money now. I think people were just saying they got freaked out by having to stay in the house for 6 months. They said they'll never, ever do this again. They're going out and enjoying their life and spending their savings. It's all I could think. One of the reasons.
Yeah. The life's too short. So, I mean, I think we saw that. And you could also tell this is how you know people have money. You know, you could always tell in Vegas, I always felt like you could kind of see where the economy is about 6 months before things happen. So as long as people are coming here and spending money, the economy's fine. Yeah, the gas is up. You know, there's some outliers because of these things, you know, supply chain, this, that, the other. But people are working. People have jobs. Right. People have money. Right. So as long as people have money, they're going to blow it. They're going to spend it. And when they were getting unemployment and everything, maybe they paid down some of their credit cards. So they're just going to build their, build it back up, build up their debt.
Build their debt back. That's right.
Right. And the casinos who aren't giving anything away in Vegas because they don't have to are just going to, take your money and say thank you. And then when things get bad again, they're going to beg you to come back when you have no dough. That's typically what they do.
Yep. Every strip casino, 6 to 5 blackjack, and the tables are full. The 000 roulette tables are full. I mean, the people just they're dealing to the population. People just don't know any better. They just want to gamble and have fun. It's just ridiculous.
They pay 7 to 6 blackjack. People would still play it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just like, and that's the thing. Even with inflation, the reason why there's inflation is because they're going to charge you what you're willing to pay. So if you're willing to play 000 roulette, they're going to put it out there. And maybe you play $5 000 roulette instead of $10 000 roulette. Well, it's the same $100 bill.
Right.
So it's just a matter of how long it's going to take you to lose it.
That blows me away. I was walking through Cosmo last week, and I had some friends in town, and literally 2 $25 tables right next to each other. One is 6 to 5, one's 3 to 2, both of them packed. Is that the people just don't know better? It's just the tourists, they just don't know any better? It blows me away. Like literally side by side tables, same minimum, 165, one's 3 to 2, and both busy.
I would think that it could be that they don't, one table doesn't know any better, and it could be the other table could be some of their players that they want to play at that table, carded players, guests that they, to a certain extent, they'll give you, if you're playing $50 a hand, they may give you 3 to 2 blackjack. You know what I mean? So the odds change based on who you are and how much you play. Because we used to do that in the salon at the Venetian. It'd be, 6 to 5 out on the floor. But if you're playing $50 a hand in the salon, they'll give you 3 to 2, but they just don't want the commoners knowing it.
Right.
I have an advantage gambling question.
Okay.
So how did you handle, how did they handle card counters? Have you ever had one at your table? The floor person, obviously the IN is supposed to be counting along with them. How did they handle it? Have you ever had someone being backed off or shuffled on or anything like that? Please tell our audience.
Oh, absolutely. It was the first time I was at the Venetian, and it was the first time I really knew that someone was counting cards. I started sweating. I was freaking out. I was trying to get everyone's attention. This guy was betting heavy. He was winning. I was just completely freaked out. Like I was going to get in trouble. And like I was throwing in extra shuffles, and the guy didn't care. It was a 6-deck shoe, or maybe it could have even been 8-deck. I don't remember. But I was freaked out. And when I got off on my break, I was like, that guy's counting cards. And they're like, calm down. We know. We'll take care of it. You just do your thing. You didn't have to shuffle in the mid thing, like because they make you cut, and I would cut extra, which is another thing. If you're a stiff, instead of cutting further back, I'll cut further up. Like I had all kinds of things,
Sure.
But I had, and he eventually left. But I have seen guys back up the table, and they just say, "Hey, listen, you're welcome to play any other game, just not blackjack, for the next 24 hours." And they give them a chance, you know what I mean? A break. And that's just what they do. Now, my wife was a dealer a really long time ago, and she used to deal at the Orleans, which is a whole different set of circumstances. When they knew someone was counting before they'd back them off, they'd bring her in on a double deck pitch game because she's left-handed, and it would completely throw them off. So they would get up and leave. So that's what they would do. Yeah. This is
why does that throw them off?
Because the cards come at a different angle. Now at the Venetian, you couldn't pitch left-handed, but at the Orleans, they didn't care. And so they would, in the Orleans at the time, was a place where they would sweat money when they lost, and they changed dealers constantly, and
they still do. They still do.
It's just insane. That was an insane place to work, because I worked there for about a year.
Okay.
And I saw Greg Maddux win like a ton of money there one time.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And it was funny because he'd throw the dice and they wouldn't hit the back wall. And I'm like, dude, you won like 4 Cy Youngs. How could you not hit the back wall with the dice? And he would laugh. He was a nice guy. His dad was a dealer. He was with his brother. His dad used to be a poker dealer at MGM. But so she'd come in and pitch left-handed, and it would flip everyone out because the cards are coming at a different angle. So they're used to a certain thing. They're used to a certain flow, and then she'd tap in. And they would get all freaked out, and then maybe their luck would change, or the hands would change or whatever, and they'd leave. That was it.
Cool. No, I think they're a little more tolerant now, because let me be blunt. I think there's more people that think they're card counters than they're actually really skilled counters. So everyone thinks that they're a card counter, and I think it's tough, a lot tougher than people think, to really master being a card counter. And I think casinos are a little more tolerant today than they were years ago. And now, you know what they're looking for now? They're looking for guys that are, shuffle tracking, keeping track of the aces, sequencing. There's a lot of different things that goes on now. They're looking for the weak dealers. I always use it like this: the lions that are looking for the weak gazelle. The people that go through looking for someone that could whole card and catch the whole card. Years ago, they had a doctor in town here that would put a cast on you, sit in a wheelchair. You want to be eye level with the table and get a glimpse of the whole card.
Yeah.
There's dealers that are so bad now. Those dealers you mentioned, they're new to I don't want to say new to the country. They're new to maybe the earth. I mean, they're girls that are just the sexy girls, and they're brand new in those, I'll call them like the party pits. And they're just having fun and showing their whole card. Well, that's just gravy for someone that is looking to get a glimpse of a whole card in these new carnival games.
Yeah, that was always the thing when I was as a dealer, like especially on a craps game, when you have a dealer that's not paying attention, because as a crew, you're kind of responsible. Like if one person gets caught in something, you all get in trouble, right? So if I had a weak dealer who wasn't paying attention or whatever, I never wanted to work with them, and I begged not to. And the Venetian, they promised me I wouldn't get in trouble if someone got caught doing something wrong. But you could just stand around. If I was on a blackjack game, I could look around and see who's apt to get, clipped, because there's just so many people not paying attention, especially when you've been doing it a long time and you're not on a day shift and you're not paying attention. Like you're an easy mark. You're right about the casinos not worrying about counting cards. There was Ben Affleck got kicked out of the Hard Rock when the Virgin was the Hard Rock for counting cards. And I was like, really? Because he wasn't winning, he had lost that day because my buddy was a foreman over there. And so he got booted from there. And lo and behold, he ended up at the Venetian. And I was like, you're taking this guy who's counting cards? And they're like, yeah, we'll give him a shot. And sure enough, thank God they did, because he's one of the greatest tippers in modern Vegas history. And he could count cards all day long. He did not win every time. And even when you're counting cards, doesn't matter.
He still goes there. That's where he still goes. He still goes to the Venetian. And you got to hope J-Lo's not around to grab the tips
she's
back.
The worst.
But yeah, she's the worst. She's the worst. But he still goes there. Very generous guy.
J-Lo came in there one time with her when she was married to the singer guy, Mark, whatever his name is.
Mark Anthony.
Mark Anthony. And she sat in the salon, the two of them sat in the salon in a little quiet area away from everybody with no maximum, no minimum blackjack game. They played $5 blackjack, ran the butler around all day long and didn't really leave him much of anything, didn't tip the dealer. They were laughing the whole time, just being annoying. So,
you think someone like her from the Bronx, street person, would take care of people. And I'm terrible like this. I'm probably overboard. I rate people by how they tip.
Totally.
I'm very bad about that, though. Like, I know that's not the only thing you should rate. You should rate them by their humanity, things they do in life, and how generous they are, maybe charities. But I'm bad about, like, Tiger Woods and Whoopi Goldberg. I seen them firsthand at Taj Mahal stiff the waitress. The waitress, like, just standing there. They didn't give her a tip. But yet, guys like Charles Barkley, I watched them give $100 to everybody. I watched them, like, give $100 bills out. I watched Donald Trump do that. I literally watched Donald Trump give $100 bills to 11 people. I'm, not being political. I'm just saying, as far as there being tipping, I rate people how they tip, and it's probably wrong, but that's just the way I do it.
No, I totally agree. Howard Stern says it all the time. Like, when you're famous, you have to tip more, especially if you're a person like Howard Stern or Donald Trump, someone that some people don't like, because, you're going to be judged on that to whoever you're, and the word's going to get around. But, like, I came home one day and I was like, hey, honey, Heidi Fleiss was on the table, and boy, she sure was generous. My wife was like, the Hollywood Madam? Like, oh, what a nice lady. Like, the Hollywood Madam?
There you go.
There's another guy, Billy Chagra. I think that was his name. His last name was Chagra. He was a drug importer, let's say, back in the 80s. And this guy was so generous at Caesars, they gave him a 6-foot trophy that said world's greatest craps player. He eventually went to prison. They let him out for compassionate causes because he was having cancer. And one of the old Caesars dealers recognized him, went over to him, and spent his entire break talking to him, reminiscing about the old days. Now, when I dealt to him, he wasn't nearly as generous because he had no money. The government took it all. But the one thing they didn't take was that 6-foot trophy. He wanted that when he got out. And it was like, how do you justify this guy who's bringing in drugs, who may or may not have hired Woody Harrelson's dad to kill a judge, but paid off guys' houses? Bought their cars, put their kids through school. Like, how do you say, oh my God, what do I do? And I guess we have that now. Like, what do you say about, Bill Cosby or any of these people who are flawed in their personal life and do terrible things, but, you have respect for in their professional life, it's weird.
You're talking about Jimmy Chagra. Jimmy Chagra,
that's
brother,
Jimmy.
and his brother Jamil. Two guys.
Jimmy.
These guys were street guys. These guys were street guys. Great tippers, drug guys. I know, but whatever they do on the outside life, but they're just street guys. So they tip, and these guys were like, this guy was a legendary guy back, by the way, in Las Vegas. Back in the day, Jimmy Chagra. So that alone is a big story. So that's pretty cool.
And I was
John,
I'm sorry, I was talking to him about being in Oscar Goodman, Mayor Goodman's book, and he just loved that. And he loved being recognized. He loved being famous. I'd like to say, may he rest in peace. But I mean, like, was he a good guy? Was he a bad guy? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. John, what else we got? Got anything else for Keith? This has been a blast.
Yeah, this has been really great, Keith. I'm wondering, on the comedy side of things with cancel culture and all that stuff, how you deal with that. I just watched Ricky Gervais's special. Well, I got halfway through it last night and I fell asleep because I was tired. But it was great, at least halfway through. He's under a lot of fire now. Chappelle's always getting attacked. What are your thoughts on, the unwritten rule? Does comedy always get a pass, and should it get a pass?
Well, yes and no. It depends. I just saw an old clip. There's a Carlin documentary out now, and he talks about how, comedians traditionally we're the underdogs and we punch up to the man, to whatever it is, we're punching up. You don't punch down on someone less fortunate than you. So I think that sometimes comics forget that. Other times, I think people now, more importantly, people now want to be offended. They want to be upset. They look for something to upset them. They go out of their way to get pissed off over, they don't understand jokes. They don't understand what the butt of the joke is. There are times when people make fun of racism and they call it a racist joke. They just don't know. So people are so apt now to get on Twitter and say, I find this offensive, and find a bunch of other people that go, yeah, that's offensive, when it's really not. They missed the butt of the joke. And I got sick of going on Twitter and explaining what the butt of the joke is, how jokes work.
Yeah.
So I think so many people just don't get it. And I don't think, it's because, a guy like George Carlin or Joan Rivers, who never apologized for jokes, who were all controversial. They said their piece, but they were always punching up. And like something like what Dave Chappelle does, he's kind of misunderstood in what he's done as far as the transgender community. I think in the beginning, he was talking about how this small little portion of society gets all this publicity when there's African Americans who've been oppressed for a long time, who are still oppressed as well. And I think that's what he was trying to do, and that gets missed. And he even gave, in his last special, he was talking about a transgender person he gave an opportunity to, and he got in trouble for that. So I think people just want to be offended in some cases.
Interesting.
In most cases.
In most cases. Yeah, it's a good explanation. Listen, I love being the butt of a joke. I'll go to a comedy show, pick on me, say anything you want. Say anything you want about being Jewish, Italian. I don't care what race, with gender. It's fun. It's funny. Makes me laugh. And I make fun of my background. I don't care. But so other people don't, though. There was a great comedian here in town. I'm a break balls comedian. The guy, Vinny Favorito, that was here.
I know Vinny.
Vinny, I don't think he could ever come back, his kind of comedy. I would hope maybe one day, but he picked on every single race. And I actually just did a documentary about him. I filmed a couple scenes. I was pretty good friends with Vinny. So that'll be coming out soon. Anyway, I hope it does come back one of these days, that kind of comedy. I was showing the guys off air. Joey Diaz did a special, I don't know if it was Netflix or something, and he talked about someone making fun of him being, I think he's Puerto Rican, someone making fun of him on the road and giving him a finger and calling him a Puerto Rican slander name. And he's like, oh my God, thank you. We got a shot in the country. Thank you very much for telling me that. So I hope it does come back, though.
And everyone's sensibility is a little bit different, but I think right now everyone is just a little bit too uptight and looking to get offended. There's, insult comedy was always tough anyway. Like Don Rickles could get away with it, but there are certain things like, I don't know, some of his stuff doesn't necessarily age well, but Brad Garrett does insult type comedy, and it's a special, and Vinny got away with it too. It takes a special comic to be able to do it, because you insult somebody, but then I'm just kidding. And they have to be, a good sport about it, because not everyone is. And that's, for me, I like to bust chops as a general rule, but in my act, I don't necessarily do that, because I don't want to turn the audience off, because it takes like one person could turn the audience. I'm not skilled enough yet to be able to do that. So I'm extremely careful with what I do. And I think that comics now, because of the situation, go extra far to make sure that their jokes are as tame as possible for the most part. Because, they don't want to piss anyone off either, just because comics aren't bad people. We don't want to piss people off. We're there to make you laugh. That's all we want to do. I mean, you don't do it for the money, because it doesn't pay anything anymore. So we're doing it to make you laugh. So if you're not laughing, we're not doing our job, and we lose out. Yeah.
Well, Keith, this has been a blast, man. We really appreciate having you on. And, Good luck in your future endeavors, and I
Thank you.
hope to see you one of these days too out
Yeah,
there.
that'd be great. Yeah, no, that'd be great. I'm at Delirious Comedy Club downtown Grand this weekend, and then next week I'm at Jokesters for a couple weeks at the Alexis Park. So anytime you want to come out, I'll put you guys on the list.
Oh, good.
Love it.
Sounds good. Good.
Bill, I loved having Keith on the show. That was really
Yeah,
good.
he was great.
His take on everything. Funny guy.
He was great. Cool guy. And now that I know he's at a couple clubs around town, I'd like to maybe go see him. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, another great show.
Yeah. Are you still in town next week?
Next week I'm going to be in Florida. So I will be in Florida for a week. And I'm only going for like 4 days though, and then I'm coming back. So
okay. All right. Well, very good. Well, let's do this again next week. Hopefully I'm back in studio next week, get over this little cough, and we'll see everybody next week on Wise Kracks.